Hi guys, Video Demon here, also known as Thierry, and today we're doing another album review. I'm back at the original setup, but not for long because next month going back to uni, so it's kind of a shame. And I'm not using, what would you say, natural lighting. I'm using lighting from the room. I hope that doesn't bother you or any of my viewers or anything like that. It's just I kind of in the mood to make videos again, so I did it kind of late night. But anyways, I got my new shirt. It's like a gothic Hawaiian shirt. Got a lotus on it. Pretty damn cool. But anyways, so today I'm going to do another album review because I just enjoy doing them. I love talking about music, especially the kind of music that I like. And I think it's a niche genre on YouTube and not many people have done it. So I want to do it. So today we are going to be looking at my first ever movie soundtrack review, Daredevil, the album. So movie soundtrack reviews, this is going to be a little bit different than my usual ones. In my usual album reviews, I talk about the history of the band and the release of the albums and like how they sound. Movie soundtracks, however, are like very different. In this one, I'm going to give a short review of the actual film to give some context, and we're also going to talk about how this is a collaboration album, by the way. It's a compilation. Is it compilation or compilation? I don't know how you pronounce it, English or whatever. But basically, this album is full of different artists um, in the film. I'm going to talk about like where the songs appear in the film because this comes from a time period where obviously the new metal scene, we've all talked about it, it was really big from the late 90s to the early 2000s, but a part of that time which really got me into the genre and others was um, many songs from new bands featuring in film soundtracks. Now, these songs would either be in the end credits or they would be in certain scenes in the movie or they would just kind of be thrown on to like a soundtrack album release like during the film's release. In addition, as well, there would also be an official score. So there was Daredevil the album, but there was also an original score. So all the fancy background music, like your Hans Zimmer orchestral type stuff. I wouldn't review that because it's very hard to explain, and unless you've seen the film, there's no real point listening to that really. So, but with this, it's a bunch of random songs from different artists which have lyrics like loosely based on the film, and it's more interesting to talk about. But anyway, so during this time, there was many other ones as well because when I was getting into this style of music a couple years ago, I found the songs in like many different films, and it was like a trend. Like there was not just Daredevil, but there was also Queen of the Damned, The Scorpion King, starring The Rock. Let's try and think of some others. Freddy vs. Jason, Dracula 2000, Scream 3. There was so many. These films were varying degrees of quality, but the good thing was plenty of good rock and metal were in them. I'm also gonna the reason I did this as well because a friend a while ago mentioned me to review the soundtrack from the film Singles, which has a lot of like early 90s grunge in it, so I'm going to check out that movie sometime. But yeah, Daredevil, for example, I had no nostalgic connection to this film, and I watched it purely because I heard there was good music in it. And yeah, we're going to give the film a quick review. Um, it's a very tonally strange film because it wants to look very edgy of the time and it has that sort of rock music in, but it's got plenty of like goofy moments and just silly bits of the film. Like the character Bullseye is a like crazed Irishman, and the bit where Matt Murdock and Jennifer Garner are like having like a play fight in the park, in the schoolyard, wherever it was. There's just a lot of goofy scenes that try to look more like the old Spider-Man films when it wanted to be a more darker film. So it was very like tonally strange. But is this one of the worst superhero movies ever? Hell no. It was actually entertaining. which is better than most movies. I didn't want to turn this film off. I wanted to like keep watching because it actually grabbed my interest, and the story wasn't too bad. The acting wasn't the best, and like I said, it was tonally silly, and I'm sure the comic book fans disliked it because it didn't follow the story very well. But we have the Netflix show from 2015, which did follow the comic a lot better. So a lot of people say don't ever watch this film, just watch the series. But I think it deserves a watch just to see those films at the time. But my score would be, there was two versions of the film. The theatrical version I would give solid 5 out of 10. Average film, because it's just like, it's too silly at parts, but it's entertaining, and the fight scenes are pretty like campy and fun. However, the director's cut, which was the DVD one where the director added extra scenes edited in, basically showing Daredevil's character Matt Murdock actually being a lawyer, which added to his character a lot more, and it removed a lot of the cringe romance scenes between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner as Elektra. And I would give that film 6.5 out of 10, a 6.5. Much more entertaining. Not quite good enough to be a 7, but still. But is this film as bad as Batman and Robin, Catwoman, Four Stick? Wish there are some other crappy superhero films. But anyway, is it as bad as those films? Hell no. Hell no, it's not as bad. It's actually entertaining, and it's not completely insulting. I would say it's on like Spider-Man 3 levels, but I did enjoy Spider-Man 3 a lot more than this. But anyway, that was my short review of the film. But I had to mention that because a lot of the songs on this album have lyrics inspired by the character, by the movie, and the appearance scenes. So, just to clear that out of the way before I start. So, although the film is very average, not too good, the soundtrack has some absolute bangers on it. Some of my favourite bands are here, some hidden gems, some kind of like deeper cuts are on here, and it's worth doing a review on. It's probably one of my favourite like soundtrack albums of all time, and I just had to buy myself a copy. I know nowadays that you could probably like, not all the songs are on Spotify, but with the ones that are, you could probably make your own playlist, your own Daredevil, but it's worth it just to get the CD. So we're going to look at the packaging. The front cover is the poster with Daredevil like standing triumphantly on the building with the rain pouring down, very edgy looking, with the very like black and orangey red color scheme on it to fit the character. We've actually got some braille on the little side handle of the CD, which I checked it online and it literally translates to Daredevil. No joke. And the track list here, there is 20 songs on this. Oh, the Punisher album as well has about 19 songs on it. That was a really good one too. Both of them were produced by Wind Up Records, because a lot of the bands were on that label at the time. Very new metal, post-grungy. I would say the sound on this album is a mix of genres. It's definitely more hard rock, more post-grunge than it is new metal. I'd say like Queen of the Damned and Scorpion King and stuff like that. Freddy vs. Jason is more new metal and metalcore. This one isn't as heavy, but I think it fits the superhero aesthetic more than a horror film would. The inside of it as well. Liner notes. The CD is red with some graphics of rain on it. And the inside of it is the scene where Daredevil is on the fan, which was in the bar fight scene. I thought I broke it then. But anyway, so that was the packaging. I think I mentioned most of the little details. We're going to get onto this. I'm going to go quick fire with these songs because there's 20 tracks from different artists. And the songs that I don't like as much, there is some skippable tracks here, so I'm not going to talk about those as much. But I think we're just going to get into it because I used to listen to these songs a lot a few years ago. They got me through a lot of times. Even when I wasn't a big fan of the movie, I just loved the songs. Similar to the Spider-Man soundtracks as well. But anyway, let's get into it. Daredevil the album. The first song on it, Won't Back Down by Fuel. Now, Fuel, as you know, I reviewed the first 3 albums. One of my favourite bands of all time. Underrated group from the post-grunge times of the 2000s. This is a very 2000s sounding album, by the way. but I really love that sort of rock. So Won't Back Down, it's more new metal-ish. It's heavy sounding, there's some bombastic riffs. It starts off with some like strange distortion, which is actually different in the one released on the Natural Selection album. By the way, this obviously this is from was released in March 2003, a month after the film in February. So a lot of these songs were first appeared on this album before they were released on the actual band's material. But anyway, so Won't Back Down, it actually sounds different than the Bring You Hell remix on the Natural Selection version. Natural Selection was Fuel's third album, by the way. It sounds very bombastic, sorry, with literally him screaming, "Yeah!" at the very beginning. It just gets you hyped. It was the perfect song to open this to. Very high energy. And the lyrics are definitely more on the edgier side, like, the truth behind your eyes, your darkest little lies. Now I'm coming for you. And the song is about not giving up, you're not going to back down and you bring them hell, which fits because Daredevil is dressed like a devil, so it fits. And it's very different to Fuel's most popular songs. It's not one of their soft ballads. It's one of the more heavy songs. So this is great. It did have a music video with like them on top of a building, a skyscraper with clips from the film edited in. I love those types of music videos. I kind of miss them because they don't really do rock and metal in like films anymore, especially like superhero films. It's just rap music now, which is kind of shit. But yeah, Won't Back Down. I love it. And was the first song I actually heard from this. It was the third ever Fuel song I heard. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. For You by The Calling. Now, if you don't know The Calling, they were the band that did that song, I'll go wherever you will go. Now, because of that, they're kind of associated as a one-hit wonder. But I think they had a couple hits as well. Like Adrian was the girl version of Adrian, by the way. But For You was actually my favourite song by the band. It just was so emotional. It starts off with those like kind of like downward sounding string instruments, and there's lots of violins and cellos, and the song is more of a power ballad. It's more radio rock, kind of radio friendly, and the song is kind of about the romance between Daredevil and Elektra. By the way, the 2005 Elektra film, it's not as bad as people say, but it's a very boring film. I wouldn't recommend like watching it anytime soon. But I'm there for you, and you were there for me, so I'm there for you. Kind of repetition in the lyrics, but it's a very, very romantic song. It might sound cheesy, but I would play this song for my girlfriend someday. So take that as you will. But I love this song. It's very, very cutesy. It's very hopeful, and it makes me happy. So not all the songs are heavy here. Next song, Bleed For Me by Saliva. Now, Saliva started off as like more sort of the rap metal kind of thing, like the Limp Bizkit sort of style with like Click Click Boom and Your Disease. But Bleed For Me is definitely like, Your Disease was 2001, Bleed For Me is 2003. Like, they instantly changed from the rap metal schlick to the more like sad boy, post-grunge, looking out the window while it's raining type music, and you can tell with this song. All that I wanted was to be at your surface. And I think this song as well, it's like about like being there for a person as well. Very similar themes to this album. It's more generic, but it has an emotional punch. But it doesn't sound like Saliva's usual material. But I'm not really a big fan of the band, so let's skip that one. Next song, one of my favourite songs on the album, Hang On by Seether. I love this song. Seether's one of the best post-grunge bands. Sean Morgan's got that very like iconic voice. Will never found myself, wish I was someone else. It's just epic sounding. It plays during the scene. By the way, sorry, I hope you don't mind. That's my floor creaking, by the way. But anyway, so Hang On, it plays during the scene where Daredevil is inside of the church. He sleeps in one of those like noise containment chambers or whatever you'd call them, and he wakes up to the stereo playing, and Hang On starts playing the drums, and he like suits up and gets ready. Such an awesome song. It really gets me pumped up. It makes me like ready for a fight almost. I just really love it. And It did appear on Disclaimer 2, which was like the it was like the Seether's first album with a few extra songs on it. Hang On is a great song. It's got some great riffs on it. It's very grungy sounding, very raw sounding. One of the best songs. The next song, Learn the Hard Way by Nickelback. Yep, a name that people grew to despise, but in 2003 they were still quite a new band, pumping out some, new hit singles. And this was before Rockstar and Photograph came out. But Learn the Hard Way, it's not one of the better songs. It's more your sort of like generic southern kind of like sounding hard rock. It's like a bar fight type song. Chad Kroger's obviously, you gotta learn the hard way. His voice. It plays in the scene where Daredevil fights all the thugs inside of the bar. But it's the really weird scene in the movie where it's like the sound starts going away. Due to like the bullets flying, and Daredevil goes deaf for a while because he's obviously got like superhuman senses because he's blind. But it's a decent song. Let's move on. The Man Without Fear by Drowning Pool featuring Rob Zombie. This is when Drowning Pool, their vocalist Dave Williams passed away. Rest in peace. He had cardiac arrest. He was only on the first album, which was their best, Sinner. But this was when they replaced him with a different singer, which is kind of like disrespectful. Like, they literally replaced him like a year after he died. Like, they didn't even wait for time to pass. But whatever, none of my concern. But of course, the iconic Rob Zombie, his creepy sounding voices on this song. It's one of the more heavy sounding ones. It's like more nu metal sounding. And obviously, The Man Without Fear is obviously a reference to Daredevil's nickname that he's given by people. And Kingpin calls him that in the film too. So it's a really fun song. Very heavy. Gets you pumped up. The next track is Right Now by Nappy Roots, featuring Marcus Surreal from POD. I'm really sorry if I Surreal. Sorry I pronounced his name wrong. But the guitarist of POD, basically. Which is really disappointing because it says POD and you're expecting like another song like Awake or... Sorry, not Awake, but like Alive or, Youth of the Nation or like Sleeping Awake from Matrix Reloaded. But no, POD doesn't have a song. It's just the guitarist. But it's Nappy Roots. They were a rap group similar to NWA and Wu-Tang Clan. It's that type of song. It's more like a rap rock, rap metal kind of thing. There's also a female vocals. There's a lady singing at points as well. So, interesting track. Not one of my favourites. I'm not the biggest fan of rap, but got nothing against this song. It's decent. Evening Rain by Moby. I'll straight up say it. Moby's a knobhead. Don't like him. Nothing to do with him being a vegan. I know people who are vegans who are like nice people, but he's a jerk. And he kept his reputation as that. But I guess back then he was a decent like music producer, techno sort of producer, which I do kind of like that style of music, and it is very atmospheric and fits the film. It's in the scene where like I think there's like a tracking shot of the building while the song plays in the background. Moby's voice is very like deep sounding, very like sorrowful, like not sorrowful, but he sounds kind of like Bob Dylan. He sounds like tired, like I'm in the morning rain. Not one of my best songs. It's the song that you'd have to like watch the film to enjoy, I think. So it's a decent song. The next song, Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. Who doesn't know this song? It's been memed to death. Everybody has made fun of it at this point. Wake me up inside. I can't wake up. Wake me up. We all know it. If I had time, I could have probably edited it in here, but I don't want to get a copyright strike. But fun fact here, guys. This song, it eventually got known as cringe because it was in badly edited AMVs and YouTube videos. But here's the catch. This album released before Evanescence's album Fallen was released a month later. No, I think it was released just a few weeks after this album. So, sorry about that, guys. So you might call this cringe and stuff like that, but it was made for the film. Well, I think they were like the Evanescence like had a demo album, but this song was made in the film. So yeah, and it's in the scene where Electra's like she's preparing, I guess, to fight, and she's stabbing all the sandbags, and there's clips of, all of this time I can't believe I couldn't see, and it's a shot of Daredevil's like blind eyes. So I'll admit I laughed at it when I watched the film just because of the memes, but it came before all of that. It came out when the film had came out, so it has an excuse. And yes, it is memed, but it's a really good song. It's got beautiful string arrangement, good pianos. It's powerful. The mix of Amy Lee's beautiful voice and the rap singing by the singer of 12 Stones is nice. So I can't really hate on it. Still a good song, and it fits the film. It's just kind of sad with the reputation. Let's move on. Until You're Reformed by Chevelle. Absolutely love Chevelle. This is one of their deeper cuts. It wasn't on Wonder What's Next, their second album, but it's very atmospheric. Some of the guitar licks, like it's very it's got a very like strange sort of beat to it. It feels like very like chuggy, like marching kind of like feel to it. And the lyrics are very like ambiguous, like you don't really know what it's about. But and Until You're Reformed doesn't actually get said in the song, so it's pretty interesting. Right Before Your Eyes by Hoobastank. Terrible band name aside, these guys were decent before that song The Reason came out, which is cheesy as hell song. But Right Before Your Eyes plays in the scene where Daredevil, he's just been, as a kid, he's like 10 years old, and he's been splattered with the toxic waste, and he becomes blind and realizes he has powers in hospital, and there's a montage of him testing out the powers with like a narration over it. And Right Before Your Eyes by Hoobastank plays in the background. It's one of their deeper cuts. And this song is just really, it's really beautiful. Like there's good like string arrangements, and it's melodic. Right before your eyes, I am changing. It is very similar to Incubus, though. Incubus could have done this song, which they actually did songs in movies. I think they did it in the film Stealth, but anyway. Really great song, it's beautiful sounding, and it does fit that part of the film. Fade Out / In by Palo Alto. Palo Alto, I never heard of this band until this album, but they're very similar sounding, like an alt-rock version of Radiohead. The singer has a very similar voice to Tom York, he's got this kind of voice going on. But yeah, the chorus is really catchy. I don't wanna fade out, I don't wanna fade in from every one of you. Yeah, it's a really nice song. They have a couple other good songs as well, like The World Outside and stuff, but I recommend Palo Alto. They're quite a nice band. And it's one of the softer songs on this album. Caught in the Rain by Revis. Revis I also found because of this album, and they're really great. Very post-grunge, very like grungy sounding like voice. But Caught in the Rain, it was in the end credits of the film. For You and Won't Back Down were also in the credits, but Caught in the Rain was in the credits. It fits the title because Daredevil was often like sitting in the rain. That's the iconography of the film. And it's another like romance like song. Well, I was caught in the rain, wasting my time on the ground. I think it's like failing to get the attention of somebody, I think this song is. So it's very interesting, and the album that it's from, Places for Breathing, released a few months later, is a really underrated album. I'd say check it out. High Wire Escape Artist by Boys Set Fire. Or it's Boy Sets Fire, I think. It's all one word. It's more post-hardcore sounding. It's like a very like melodic kind of sounding song, but there's a lot of genuine like screaming in it as well. It's one of the heavier songs. I don't listen to this one too much, but it did introduce me to the band, so it's quite interesting. It's really like quite a heavy sounding song. It is powerful sounding. Raise Your Rifles by Autopilot Off. Autopilot Off I found because I think Make a Sound was in Burnout 3 Takedown on the PS2, which is a great racing game. I don't remember the song that much. It's not super memorable because a lot of Autopilot Off's songs sound the same, but it is a nice one, and it's quite a deeper cut, I'd say. Actually, I don't think I've ever listened to like their album, so Is it on the first Autopilot off album? I don't really remember, but still, it's a nice song. Raise Your Rifles, good. Daredevil theme, which obviously it's just the Daredevil theme remixed by Gareem, Revell, and Mike Eisner, I think it is. Sorry, I butchered those names. I kind of like I. This is my least favorite song on the album because it's not a licensed track. It's just a remix of Daredevil's theme in the movie with some kind of techno beats to it. So there's no unless you have seen the movie or you like the character, there's no real reason to listen to this song. It was just tacked on to be like, oh, we gotta have the Daredevil theme on it, as well as these like rock and metal songs. But it's alright, and there's a reason for it to be on here. The next song on the album, this is going to be tough to talk about. My Immortal by Evanescence again. So 2 big hit songs were on this, which later became big hits. My Immortal is one of the few songs that genuinely makes me cry. Not many songs do that, but I can't listen to this song without just crying a little bit because the lyrics just hit like so hard. You know, they're about loss of a loved one, but I personally think the song is about like the loss of innocence and how you can never really like get back those times when you're growing up and you're getting old. Yeah, it's a very depressing song, guys, and I don't really like to listen to it very often because like the way it makes me feel. I know some people might like say, "Oh, you're a baby," but music, I'm sensitive, and music makes me feel that way. And it was played in the scene during, obviously, this is spoilers by the way, but Daredevil, he tries to kill Bullseye, but his staff accidentally stabs Elektra's father in the chest, and it plays during the funeral scene of Elektra's dad, and they're all grieving, and you see Bullseye give a bit, not Bullseye, Kingpin give a bit of like an evil sort of smile, because he knows he knows the truth. And yeah, that scene in the movie made me cry just because My Immortal was in it. Sorry, guys. And that's all I can say, really. It's piano ballad, beautiful but sad song. Moving on, so we don't start crying in the video. Sad Exchange by Finger 11. This is one of Finger 11's more deeper tracks. It wasn't on any of their albums. I don't think so, anyway. But it's a strange song because it doesn't sound heavy enough to be on the greyest of blue skies, but it sounds heavier than anything off the 2003 self-titled album. It's very similar to what's it called, Slow Chemical, which was Kane's song and it was on Punisher album. But it's it's got some creepy elements to the song, and it makes it seem like a failing relationship or a failing like partnership or friendship. You know, no talking when I want you to listen, 'cause it's living torture, living torture. It's very like powerful sort of lyrics. There's sort of another ambiguous kind of song. You really don't know what it's about. There's after the middle section of the song, like both of us know what it sounds like in our mind. There's a key change. No talking when I want you to listen. It's a very fun song to listen to. It is like very superhero villain sounding, I think, but that's what I like about it. Next song, a band that I found because of this album, Simple Lies by Endo. Endo was a forgotten nu metal band of the scene. This was released on their album, the second one, which is much better than the first, I think. Songs for the Restless. Simple Lies has a very like creepy sounding feel again. A lot of iconic riffs. And the vocalist has a very sort of like lost in pictures, man in a purpose, sort of a more like creepy sounding voice. But there's also some screaming, some yelling at parts, and it just sounds very evil sounding song. But Simple Lies, it's another sort of like relationship song, misunderstanding each other, so I always really liked this song, like a couple of years ago, but anyway. And the final song on the album, Let Go by 12 Stones. Now, 12 Stones were also a very popular band for like soundtrack albums at the time. The song is like more of a ballad. It's a softer sort of song, and it perfectly like ends the album. There's some beautiful riffs on this, and the lyrics are like "I need you now, my friend," and it seems like a cry for help. This song, it's like needing someone you trust by your side, and the song ends with that like beautiful sounding intro riff and ends the album off on a really like nice note. Very atmospheric song. So that's it, guys. That was Daredevil the album. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to make more soundtrack videos in the future, let me know. I'll try to buy the physical copies too. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to do more rock and metal soundtrack reviews in the future because I enjoy them. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe. I'm going to uni next month, but I'm still going to make videos. So thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.